Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Country music star Phil Vassar performs live at the Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia on Friday, October 20th. We caught up to discuss his journey from growing up in Virginia to writing hits for other country artists before landing his own chart-topping hits like Six Pack Summer, Just Another Day in Paradise, and In a Real Love. Hey, Phil Vassar. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in DC.
Good morning. It's great to see you, my brother. How are you doing?
We're doing all right up here. We're doing all right. We wanted to talk because you're coming to the Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia on October 20th, and that's a bit of a homecoming for you too, right? Didn't you grow up in Lynchburg, Virginia?
It is. I'm from the Berg, and then I went to James Madison, of course, and we I love the Birchmere. It's one of my favorite places to play, man. It's very, very, very quaint, and it's just people. I love it. I can see a lot of my friends there. A bunch of my fraternity brothers are coming, and they were here at the show last night, and it's just going to be great. I'm excited about being back in Virginia.
Absolutely. And we can go into Virginia roots a little more in a second, but you mentioned something real quick. The show last night, you said you had a huge show for a country legend last night in Nashville. Tell us about it.
It was Ronnie Millsap's last Nashville show. So Kelly Clarkson and Keith Urban and Luke Bryan. We had a great time. It was 25 artists. So we had just a great time honoring Ronnie Millsap, who is, of course, one of my heroes since I'm a piano player.
Oh
he is just one of my heroes. Him and Billy Joel, Elton John, and Hornsby. It was almost surreal in a way. We got up at the end of the night and we all sang together, and Los Lonely Boys were with us, and we had a great time.
Oh, that's amazing. Everyone. Smoky Mountain Rain is like an all-time classic, but it's not just that. There's so much. I wouldn't have missed it. It was almost like a song. That one. There's so. Which one did you do?
I did a song called "Happy Birthday, Baby." That was it was kind of on that '50s record he did. It was really, really cool, and I've never sung that song before, so they asked me if I would do that one. I said, "Well, sure." And of course, I remember it from being a kid, but it was just it was so much fun. It was great to see Tracy Lawrence and Terry Clark and Trace Atkins, and it was just it was all of us together, and honoring one of our heroes, and it was a lot of fun.
That's so cool. Well, back to the growing up, and you mentioned growing up in Virginia. We have to talk about the friggin' Orioles, and I don't know. By the way, I don't know if this interview will air before or after the ALDS.
They've had a great year, man. It's just you always, I don't know, I don't know how to act, right now, because you don't want to get too much hope. You get your hopes up too much, but I just think they have a great team. They're just clicking, man, and I hope they just rip through the whole deal. And
a great young team too, Gunnar and Adley and all the rest. It's just a great young squad. Like, they built it the right way,
Yes, and it's fabulous, man. I'm having a great time, and it's funny. I've already gotten calls this morning about, one of my Phillies buddies called me, and he said, "Yeah, man, your Royals are good." And anyway, it's I just love this time of year. It's fun.
Oh yeah, the whole hunt for October and the baseball games in the fall. It's the best time of the year. But us O's fans are kind of starved for it because it's usually we're like, okay, what, the Red Sox and Yankees are on again. But like, for us, gosh, the last time was almost, I was at the ALDS 10 years ago when do you remember Delman Young with that big hit? Yeah, oh yeah. Lost to I was there in the stands, and we were up in the left field bleachers, and he hit it right towards us. And so I watched the relay to the plate like on a straight line. But gosh, before that, what was it? 97 against Cleveland, and then the Jeffrey Mayer Yankees was right the year before that. And so yeah, but my point is it's been a while since we've gotten that far.
Forever. It's been forever.
I guess, were you a Brooks Robinson guy? Rest in peace.
Always Brooks. Yeah, Brooks. And I got to meet all these guys, of course, his kids, and Palmer, and Andy Etchebarren way, way back, played for my local team. He was he played for Lynchburg, and the single A team, worked his way up, and it's it's just I love this time of year. I mean, there's something about the baseball playoffs, man. It just gets you riled up. I just love it.
I'm with you. It's amazing. Well, whenever I have someone, a big star like you, and I always love to remind people of your backstory, and you kind of already mentioned it a little bit. When you said you went to JMU in Virginia, or right down the road from our station, actually, it's not that far. And you said you admired, all the Piano Man, the Billy Joel and Elton John and all those Ronnie Millsaps. So
Yeah,
isn't that sort of how you started? Weren't you playing in piano sort of around the JMU area?
I was, man. I ran track at James Madison, and that's why I went to school. And then, I fell in love with the piano as a kid, man, and I just loved it. And I never really took lessons, I just learned how to play, and and I listened to a lot of Billy Joel, a lot of Elton John, and of course a lot of Hornsby when he came out with that record, that first record. It just blew my mind. Of course, he's such a virtuoso guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a meat and potatoes compared to guys like that, but I love the piano, and I loved the Commodores. I loved Lionel Richie, and that was my first song I ever learned how to play. It was Easy, like Sunday Morning.
Oh, wow.
And I decided this year that we would do a hits and heroes tour. So I mean, I've been really lucky and had a great amount of hits and number one songs, but I wanted to do those and throw in some of my hero songs like the Elton John songs and the Billy Joel. And it's been so much fun.
What Elton and Billy Joel songs slip into the set list, if you don't mind me asking? Because those are all time. Those are goats to me.
Oh my gosh! I mean, I just learned one of the first songs was Rocket Man. Yeah. That was my first one. Of course, Piano Man and all the Billy Joel stuff, and I probably know them better than I know my own songs.
No. Well, that's funny you're saying songs versus your own songs, because you have a lot of your own songs that you wrote for other artists, because you moved after the JMU stuff, you moved to Nashville, and you really started making some inroads in the industry, writing songs for other artists before, you got your, shot in front of everything. But I want to remind some people, I mean, it's like all-timer stuff that a lot of us grew up listening to. Colin Ray's Little Red Rodeo, Jody Messina's Bye Bye and I'm All Right, Tim McGraw's My Next 30 Years, and for a little while, Kenny Chesney's For the First Time, Alan Jackson's Right on the Money. It's like all the great songs of the 90s I feel like you had a hand in.
It was a great time.
And I guess they named you ASCAP Songwriter of the Year in 99 after all that. So I don't know, what memories of working with, at that period of your life, where you're behind the scenes and you're seeing the Tim McGraws and the Kennys and Alan and everyone just taking off, Jody, and you're like, wow, I wrote that.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing time. And of course, we all came to town about the same time. That's when I met Garth. I met him and Alan and all these guys. We were all trying to get deals. And of course, they got their deals. It was kind of a more country thing going on. And being a piano player, they were always like, "Oh, you're a piano player. That'll never work." I said, "Well, Millsap, Ronnie Millsap had 40 number one songs." Yeah. And
Ray Charles,
he
had country hits.
He sure did, and that was some of my favorite first ever, songs that I ever learned how to play and listen to. My dad turned me on to Ray Charles, and it was like, forget it, man. I loved I Can't Stop Loving You, all these songs. And it was just such a great, I mean, it was an exciting time, of course, things are different. Things change as artists. We always like, what are they doing? but it's fun. And, we still get to play music, and I love it. I love what I do.
Absolutely. Well, I'd love to go into some of the songs folks might hear if they come out to the Birchmere. And I've seen you live, and that's when I wanted to mention all the songs you wrote for other people, because we come out to the concerts to hear all your hits, but then I always think it's fun to look out of the corner of my eye and the people that don't know the songs you wrote for other people, and like, wait a minute, that's his, and then you sing them at your shows. I always love that. Let's go into cool. It's really cool. So let's go into some of the ones that they're gonna hear that that once you started doing as you became the face of your own destiny here.
Yeah.
That first Phil Vassar, the self-titled album in 2002. Carlene, oh my, I mean, that was a great one. Six Pack
Yeah.
Summer. That's When I Love You. I mean, there's so many good ones, but we have to talk. The soundbite I have to get from you is Just Another Day in Paradise. That's arguably
Right.
the biggest career hit. How'd that one come to you? Were you just going around the house and you're like, just another day?
That's funny. It's so funny. One of my buddies goes, "Man, would you just write about your day that day?" I was like, "Pretty much." He said, "It's like what kids screaming, phones ringing." It was just one thing after the next. It was real rapid fire like that, and we just wrote it down, and that was one of those songs that just kind of catapulted me into the business really, and all the other songs. Carling was a great intro, but
Yeah.
when we had Paradise, that went to number one right away, and it was just a big hit. And so you don't write those every day, but but I'm just lucky I did that day, right?
Oh, absolutely. And Six Pack Summer is a great party song, probably good for concerts. And That's
Oh,
When
it's
I Love
great.
You is a good, romantic one. So that album just had it all. It had it all. All right, and then the second one, American Child, of course, in 2002, and the title track was big. I'm guessing, I'll ask you, but I'm guessing that was, it was because it was right after 9/11. You had Brooks and Dunn doing Only in America,
Yeah.
but everyone was doing it. Toby Keith had his songs, Aaron Tippin had his, everyone had the patriotic songs coming out. But yeah, was that sort of your spin on doing a post 9/11 song?
It was kind of, our homage to that. And, you just, that's one that came out. We played at the Towers right before all that happened.
Hmm.
We were doing concerts every Friday in the square right up. They were setting up, right at the foot of the towers, and
Wow.
we just missed it. I mean, it was just amazing how all that happened. And when I think back, I just go, wow, that was just you talk about a close call. I mean, we
Same.
could have been right in the middle of that, and it's just really, really that song came out of that. I mean, we just kept thinking about my grandfather was in World War II, and all these folks, all my friends had grandfathers die in the war, and so I mean, it was a really kind of it was an homage to those guys, and it was just a cool song, and it was kind of a waltz. It was a 6/8 time thing, and usually those songs don't do very well, but it did pretty well.
Yeah. Hey, do you mind, real quick? Do you mind me asking what your grandfather in the war? Was he European theater, Pacific? Do you remember?
Yeah, we're still trying to get all the details of all that stuff, but I
Yeah.
know he did die in France.
Oh
That's
wow.
where he was. But he it's a it's pretty cool to go back, and of course, back then they didn't talk about it as much. Like what happened, this and that. And it was
Yeah.
always, now you talk about everything, but they, but a young man, he was young, and
Just kids sent over there to storm those beaches. It's
I
crazy.
know it was just crazy, and I
Yeah.
had friends that my buddy's grandfather died on in D-Day on the
Mm,
beach in Normandy.
yeah.
It's pretty crazy, when you
Yeah.
think about that stuff.
Absolutely. Greatest generation indeed. And
Oh man,
but American Child and right after 9/11 and then you just sort of I don't know. Those songs just were cathartic. Oh God, I didn't even mention Alan Jackson. Where were you when the world stopped turning? Of course. I mean, that's
yeah,
like the one. How did I forget
yeah,
that? But yeah, I mean, it was
it
just
was
all
great.
those songs and American Child, one of them. It just sort of was like a catharsis for the whole. I don't think we've ever still. We think we're still sort of emotionally dealing with that. Like I don't know. Like every year
Yeah,
these anniversaries come. It's been 22 years now. But if you
God,
close your eyes, it still feels like yesterday to me. Anyone that watched it happen, it feels like yesterday.
we all watched it on TV. It was
Ah,
so bizarre for something like that to happen, and it really sticks with you. You think you're still dealing with it every day, I guess. When it's brought up, you talk about it and you go, oh man, it's just
yeah.
it's still weird to think
Yeah.
about.
Every time you go through an airport security thing, the world changed on a dime. But all right, I don't know how I'm supposed to segue from something as heavy to 9/11 from to the hot tub song. I can't do it. But thank you for American Child, and we'll just segue that way. Third album, Shaken Not Stirred, in 2004.
Yeah.
Tell me about I'll take that as a yes, the hot tub song. A little hug leads to a foot rub, then a hot tub. It's Well, there was a song that came out a couple years ago that kind of did that beer on ice and something about a truck by Kip Moore. That's the song
Yeah. Kip, yeah.
that
We were
builds.
talking.
Okay. Anyway,
That's
but
every song, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. But anyway, I wanted to credit you with sort of inventing that idea of how one sort of leads to another. Have you ever had that? How the hot tub song come?
Yeah, you know what? It was a that's just a fun song. I mean that was like a beer on ice kind of song. It was but it we were talking about a freaking hot tub and it just all came up and that song came out of that and it was so fun. It was fun. We laughed and we didn't really take it seriously, but
Yeah.
people really liked it, so it was a big hit. But
I was gonna say that same album had In a Real Love, which so you can show you do the party side, but then In a Real Love is like some real serious stuff, a little bit of
right.
live, little bit of learn, what was it? Little bit of fuss, little bit of fight, making up all night, and then one day you wake up in a real love.
You know my lyrics better than me. That's good. I'm liking this.
They're
This is
rattling
good.
around in the brain somewhere from years ago, but I always loved that song because it's sort of like, you think you have it all figured out as young lovers in the beginning of the song, but then the whole chorus is like, you put in the work and it's ups and downs and it's hard, but then one day you wake up and you're in an actual love. Is that sort of the
Yeah, it is, man. It just and that was we were talking about high school and all those things. You grow up and all the stuff you go through, and man, having kids and it's it's such a journey. It's part of the whole thing, and the process of putting that song together was just a lot of fun. And it usually kind of starts with a little a groove or a hook or something like that. And you start just kind of rattling off these lyrics and it's almost like a rap, it's just,
yeah.
but it doesn't sound like one, but it's kind of like, that's how you do it, in sequence, you just kind of put everything in, step by step, and you just end up with a song of like, well, I think this is pretty good. And
That's
it
a good
ended up
point.
being
It
a
is
big
kind of
hit.
like a rap, like the cadences of it, a little bit of it. Yeah, it is kind of that. Yeah, you're right.
It was a lot of fun writing the songs, and it's still fun to write. I love it, and it's just we get to go all over the place and bring our songs to these towns and hopefully put on a great show for everybody. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we'd be here all day if we talked about all of your hits. So I don't want to keep you, but I mean, there's The Last Day of My Life that was on your greatest hits. Gonna bring home a
Yep.
dozen roses, pour us a glass of wine. Then you did Love Is a Beautiful Thing off Prayer of a Common Man.
Oh yeah.
And I love how the inflection of the voice, instead of just on the page, it looks like love, but when you sing it, it's love. I love how you draw it out.
Yeah, that's a hillbilly thing. That's what we do.
Well, there's been so many albums, even Traveling Circus, Noel, American Soul, Stripped Down. Everybody check them all out. But we'll let you run. You've been so generous with your time. But yeah, I
No,
guess
it's
just
been great.
final seconds. Yeah, like speak to our listeners. Invite them on out to the Birchmere, legendary spot.
I'll tell you, if you've never been to the Birchmere, it's one of the greatest places to see a show. It's a real listening room, and but it's so fun. It's not like it's calm, but people, they have a blast, and we get to really talk and just relate to everyone. It's very up close and personal, and I love that kind of show.
I love
It's
it.
a lot of fun.
And you sort of hinted at it earlier in the interview, but I want to sort of end with this in the final seconds. Like, what do you make of the state of the industry today? Because, like you said, I feel like every era has it's like, oh well, that's not country and that's not country. And my wife and I are partial to the '90s sound.
Right.
I mean, there are new songs we love, of course, and and more power to all the artists. But I don't know. I guess it just goes in cycles, doesn't it?
The business is cyclical, and it that's just part of it. And every once in a while you'll go, what is that? Or whatever but it's like, you got to give people freedom to do what they do and to create. And, I will never diss anybody's. I mean, there's some stuff I just don't want to listen to, but you just, you got to give everybody credit for what they do. And they're trying to carry the torch their own way, and
Yeah.
just like we did.
Yeah. So, but whenever you hear a piano in a country song nowadays, we can thank you and Ronnie Millsap taking it all the way back. So I really,
Yeah.
well, I guess Garth had the dance. I see people put piano in.
Yeah, no, it's the piano's a big instrument. It's never been featured as much, but Ronnie
Yeah.
really was really great about that. Of course, we like I said, we grew up with the Elton Johns and the Billy Joels, and these guys now, man, are starting to retire, and so it's really, man, it's
Yeah.
like, who's the next generation of these guys? I'll be interested to see what happens, because I hope it's not all beer songs.
I know, yeah. What is it? The quote bro country, which is good.
Oh,
If you need them every now and then for when you pull up in the tailgate outside the show or whatever, but it can't be all that. And get some more women on the radio. There's some great female country artists and they never play them nowadays, I feel like, What do you
yeah, I think they're starting to break. A few are starting to break out, and it was always that way because I remember when Jody started cutting my songs, and she's been a friend for years and years, and
Yeah.
and I was just like, man, it was so hard. But back then they had Trisha Yearwood and
Yeah.
Shania
Yeah.
and her and
There were
and
Reba. I feel like there
Reba.
were a ton that broke through back then. Terry
Yeah,
Clark, Sarah Evans, Martina, Faith. I mean, everybody.
I mean that's the
That's a
truth.
murderer's row of artists right there.
That
Back
is
to
a
baseball. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was a great bunch, and you know what, they just it just kind of became about this party thing, and which is fun. And but I mean, Trisha had some great songs, and all these girls you named had great
Yeah.
songs. So I'm sure like you said, it's a cycle, and it will circle back around to the girls. I'm sure it will, but hopefully.
Yeah. Well, we figure Taylor Swift it started in country and she's the biggest star on the planet. So I mean, I guess
She's
I guess some have you can break through.
Yeah, she's done pretty well.
Yeah.
I'll take it, and she's sweet. She's it's just I hope it goes well for her. I mean, but she's doing things that nobody's ever done. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then you got Casey Musgraves, and they're kind of, but they're more. She's winning Grammys, but more as like an alt country. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. The state of the industry is interesting right now, and I guess it's fun to
Exactly.
see where it goes. I guess you and I can't predict it.
No, you're right about that, man. This is you're good. You're knowledgeable. You know a lot about this stuff. It's really fun to talk because most don't.
Most come on and just talk about the Orioles, and that's it.
Yeah, well, but I mean, it's good to have that too, But
Yeah, yeah,
but it's fun to talk about the music and what's changing, and it's always evolving, and that's part of the planet. That's what we do. We just follow along, and some people are innovators, and some people just kind of aren't. But it's
yeah.
just it's just part of what we do. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, you're one of those innovators. So check out the innovator, Phil Vassar, at the Birchmere on October 20th. And go O's. I guess we can tie it all together. Thank God I'm a country boy is what they play at the seventh
That's
inning.
right.
John Denver, even though I heard they might change that soon. Either way, the world evolves. But anyway, go O's is what I'm trying to say.
I know, goes, man. It's so fun. It's really cool to see them. I mean, they are having a great year, and I just hope they just keep on rocking, man.
Many more, splash zone spraying the fans with the water every time we score. I love saying Camden Yards they just extended the lease for like another 30 years. So best
Oh
ball
wow,
in America, baby.
it's crazy, man. It's
Well, you probably went to Memorial Stadium. We were before Camden Yards.
of course I did. I did. I mean, I remember seeing the Colts play and way back in the old days, and I mean, it was. I mean, Camden is just great. It's just so much fun. It's a great stadium, and I love it. I can't wait to go back.
Maybe go play the piano out on the field. I think Hornsby did that once for the Ripken Street game. I'm pretty sure. But
Yes, he did.
yeah.
He's
Hey,
great.
thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, my brother. I really appreciate you having me on. And anyway, stay in touch. And if you need anything, just let me know.
Sounds good. See you at Birchmere. Later.
See you, brother.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.